time, I want to welcome Andy and Leslie Peters to our call. They're going to be sharing with us their phenomenal 36 touch system. And actually, for those of you, we did a mastermind last month, Andy and Leslie, and we kind of pulled from your Facebook group some of the resources you've already shared and touched on that. So hearing from you guys what exactly you do just means the world. So we appreciate you joining us. Thank you for coming to KW Montgomery. And we love virtual, so you didn't have to drive.
Yeah. I love it. So easy, right? Thank you guys for having us. Housekeeping before we get started. This is so embarrassing, but we are both working from home today, and we have workers doing work on our house so we get better internet. So if you see people,
we're remodeling home office and upgrading internet. So
yeah, I mean, you know, COVID. Come on, that's exactly what you do during COVID, right? So if you guys see people walking behind us, ignore them. Thank y'all. We're sorry.
They're just part of the class.
Yeah, they're just gonna make it a little more interesting. So we're excited to be with you guys today. I am from Sweet Home, Alabama, and I actually grew up shopping in Montgomery every fall and spring. My mom would drive me to the mall in Montgomery, and we would buy all my clothes there. I'm from a little town a little bit south of there called Enterprise, Alabama, in case if you guys have heard of Enterprise, the Boll Weevil Monument. E-Town. And then I married this Atlanta boy. And we have a real estate team in Atlanta, so we'll get started. And Andy, you want to tell them a little bit about us?
Yeah, and I would also just preface this by saying normally this is a 3-hour in-person class, and Leslie's done a great job of just kind of culling it down to right at about an hour, maybe 50 minutes, something like that, just to hit the high points of the class. There is certainly a lot more that we go into in person, and there's some, you know, more discussion-led, activity-based exercises that we do, but this is the world we live in. A little bit about us. We have a team of 14. 2013 was the first year we hit MREA status. We grossed $1 million. 2018 was the first year we netted $1 million. That was also the year we were number one in the Southeast region. Since then, I mean, we've kind of wandered a little bit. Last year was a good year. We went backwards a little bit. We finished at 88 million. This year, we're back on track to get back over 100 million. We have a bunch of coaches in our life. Gene Rivers, if you guys, has anybody ever heard of Gene Rivers, seen a Gene Rivers class? Okay, so most of you have heard of Gene before. Gene is kind of like our real estate dad. We started consulting with Gene. He got on payroll in 2014 and has been a vital part of our growth and business ever since. 2017, I took over 3 Keller Williams Market Centers in North Atlanta, which are now all 3 in the top 200 for the company. That's kind of my day job. And Leslie really holds down the fort on the team, and this is kind of her baby, this 36 touch program that we all implement.
I love it. I'm obsessed with it. In fact, I always tell people we kind of got started teaching this 36 touch class because we've always been 80% repeat referral business. And people are like, gosh, how do you get over 200 units and you still have 80% of your business coming from repeat referral? We're in Gary's mastermind group, and that honestly is just unheard of with the big teams because a lot of them are very transactional and they're buying leads. And we've just never, we have bought leads in the past. We don't buy any now. But we're still 80% repeat referral. So it can be done. And today we're going to kind of give you the backbone of what that system looks like. And hopefully we'll have some extra time for questions at the end.
Yeah. And the reason why we chose not to buy leads, normally you'd have maybe a 2-to-1 return on your investment when you buy a lead. Which is fine. You know, a lot of people do it at a high level, and if you can scale it, fine. But our program that we're going to talk to you about today actually has a 14-to-1 return on investment. So we like those numbers a lot better. It's a much better use of our dollar.
So for every
dollar
we spend, we get 14 in return just from this program. Okay, so I am a mega camp junkie, and I love the stats portion of Mega Camp. I'm such a numbers nerd. And this was actually flipped on the screen at Family Reunion this year. And they said, according to the National Association of Realtors, 90% of your buyers and sellers say that they would use you again. Only 12% actually do. You guys know why? Because they forget your name. They cannot remember your name. And I know that's so hard to believe because we think of all the weekends, right, that we spend in the car with these buyers. And you miss your kid's soccer game. You may miss your kids', I don't know, whatever they're playing, football game on a Saturday, because you're showing these buyers and then they come up and forget about you and they use somebody else. Have you guys ever been there? Ridden by a house and you see the sign, another agent sign in their yard 7 years later. It is not a good feeling, right? Yeah. So what we have to do is develop a plan to make them never forget our name. And that's what a 36 touch plan is.
All right, so let's take a look at MREA. This would be MREA 1. We don't have MREA 2 yet, so we still use MREA 1 numbers. We actually have MREA 2 numbers, but the book's not out. So a lot of people look at us like we've got a third eye when we start talking MREA 2. That book will hopefully come out whenever Gary deems that it's ready. We hope sometime in this century would be fabulous. But until then, we're going to work with the old numbers, which, by the way, work. They still work. And what they found through the research was that, virtually 95% of the original MREA is still relevant and valid for what we need to know in today's real estate environment. So if you take, we basically break this down into METs and haven't METs, right? And when we look at METs, for every 12 people that we market to 33 times in a given year, we can reasonably expect 2 sales. So it's kind of a 6-to-1 ratio, but we say 12 to 2. The reason we say 12 to 2 is that one of those 12 people will be someone that you physically market to, somebody that's in that database. And then one of the people will be someone that you get a referral from that you're marketing to, right? So that's that's where those numbers come from. Welcome to our house. Yeah. So we've got both of our contractors arrived at the same time, which is awesome. So let's take a look at the MET side. I mean, the have not met side,
well,
right?
Can we talk about this a second before we move on? Because
Who's the MET?
Who is a MET, right? And before I say that, let's talk about the 33 times. MREA 1 is 33 times a year that you're going to touch them. But we know that MREA 2 is going to be 36 times a year. So we've just already pivoted to that. And we're going to share our 36 touch plan with you today. So I just wanted to clear that up. So let's say 12 to 2 ratio for 36 touches a year. And then let's talk about who a MET is. Because for me, I interview agents all the time to join our team. And since we're such a database-driven business, one of the things that I'm constantly asking is how many people are in your database? And when I think about that question, most people say, oh, about 100. And why do they say 100? Because they're thinking of their wedding list. Guys, we can't think of our wedding list, right? For METs, I want you to think about anyone that you walk up to in the grocery store. If you know their name, they should be in your database. Does that change things for you? So every single one of you in real estate, I know you know more than 100 people. My follow-up question to that is always, okay, so if you have 100 people in your database, how many friends do you have on Facebook? How many followers do you have on Instagram? And people are like, oh, like 1,000. Oh, right? Where's the disconnect? So one thing that I would challenge you to do, and add this to your 411, add this to your goal sheet for this week, is go through and compare your social media friend list to your database. And I have a feeling a lot of you would add hundreds of people if you just did that one thing. So that would be my first homework for anyone on this call, is go compare that social media list to your database and cross-reference and add. Okay, Andy, do you want to talk about the unmats?
Yeah, so unmets, this would be cold lead sources. This could be geographical farming, right? We typically see that return is somewhere around 1% instead of the 2% that um, MREA 1 says. So MREA says that for every 50 people in your Met database that you should have unmets, that you should generate one lead. We've actually found this more like 100 to 1. Now, what we see very strong geographical farmers do, and by the way, geographical farming simply means that you have a group of properties, be it neighborhood, geographic area, that you're hitting consistently. Now, typically, you're only doing this on like a 12 times a year basis, right? A monthly basis. But these are people that you don't really know. But the best geographical farmers turn those unmet databases into met databases. How do they do that? They know who the people are, right? They knock doors. They have events in those territories. They are really a part of that community and know names and no details about people. By the way, that's exactly what we do in our Met database, right? So we're not suggesting that geographical farming is a bad idea. If you have the time and the desire to, really dedicate yourself into that, it can be an awesome business, right?
Your return is just going to be a little less, and it's going to take you a little bit longer. So one thing that we know, and Andy did allude to this, but I want to make this clear, is research for Keller Williams now is actually showing that it's a 1 to 100 ratio. And before, where they were showing it was 1 to 50 with 12 mailings a year, that's not enough, and 12 mailings a year is not getting the job done. So now on our team, when we get cold leads, so we get internet leads or whatever that come into the team, we know that we can typically close 1 to 2 out of 100, and it's taking a 6 time to success follow-up system that we're putting in place. So we're calling those leads 6 times in the first week until we connect, and then they're going on a 12 email newsletter list and drips. So it's a lot more than just 12 direct. Okay, we've beaten that dead horse, right?
Hey guys, are y'all talking on a PowerPoint?
Yes. Oh, wait.
See the Zoom screen.
You see the Zoom? Oh, y'all haven't seen this PowerPoint at all?
No.
Really?
Oh, you guys. This is so sad. Okay. Hold on.
So stop share.
Guys, this
Try
is
again.
heartbreaking. We have an entire PowerPoint that I will send you guys after this.
Can you see it now?
So you guys can go back and look at this PowerPoint. How heartbreaking.
It's fine. I thought you guys were just doing the lead in, and then I was like, wait, I think she's talking on a PowerPoint.
Yeah, but
our PowerPoint slides?
we were taking notes.
There you go.
Y'all, we're so sorry. We're scattered this morning. Okay.
We've got it. It's wonderful. No problem.
It's early. There's plenty of time to catch up.
Okay, so we'll send you this too, and then you can distribute. So that way you can make sure your notes add up. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so let's do the math. So if we're looking at Mets and that 12 to 2 ratio that we talked about, for every 12 people you market to, you're going to get 2 closings. If you're running a 36 touch program, that means that 100 people in your Met database, you're going to close about 16 or 17 units a year. What did I tell you most agents have in their database? 100 people, right? But I know all of you have more than 100 people. So it is a race to get to 1,000 people in your Met database. When we got to 1,000 people in our Met database, we grossed $1 million. So that's the path right there. So how quickly can you get to 1,000? Because that's about 166 closings.
One thing to note here, 17% of the National Association of Realtors, only 17% sell 10 or more houses. So what that tells me is that people don't have databases and they don't know how to market to it. 17%, only 17% do 10 or more houses.
Crazy. So for you guys, I mean, let's do the math on that. I bet most of you have more than 100 friends on social media. I bet a lot of you have up to 500 friends on social media. So what organizations can you join? Can you get involved in your kids' schools? What about your church? How can you be more involved so you meet more people to add to your database? Because what we know is a lot of times your best friends may not use you, but guess what? That person that just sees you in the grocery store or sees you at your kid's school occasionally, they're the ones that are going to use you. And most of the time, those are the ones that we forget to market to. So, unmets. We already told you these numbers are kind of wrong. So I'm going to half them. So if you have 1,000 people in your unmet database, or you're farming a neighborhood of 1,000 people, it's not going to be 20 closings anymore. We're looking more at 10, unless you get them into a face-to-face MET system like a 36 touch.
Yeah, and it's going to take you probably a year or two to actually get to that point where you're getting that much out of it. Like, it doesn't happen
overnight. It's consistency,
Probably
right?
neither one of them happen overnight, right? I mean, they all are going to take 12, 18 months of consistent
To
work.
get to these numbers.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Okay, so history.
Yeah, so this is a great kind of visual for you to understand. 36 touches or 33 touches did not happen overnight, right? We had to build up to that point. In reality, we had to start adding leverage in our business in order to free up enough time that we could do this the right way. Perhaps you've heard, it doesn't matter what it looks like, just get it out, get it out, get it out. We actually believe it does matter. We think you can actually speed up the process, the effectiveness on your plan by sending things of value and really kind of catching people's eye, right? So when we got started, well, when Leslie got started, because I wasn't even in the picture then, what did it look like?
Yeah, so in 2006, I was a part-time real estate agent and a full-time first grade teacher. So I really wanted to get into real estate, and he said, prove yourself first, right? And
You needed your $40,000 salary.
Yes, and as much as I wanted to jump in and immediately do 33 touches, because I had an amazing team leader that shared the models and systems, and assistant team leader with me, I knew that there wasn't enough time and there wasn't enough money, right? A teacher salary, and I didn't have a lot of time. I was working 45-hour weeks teaching, and then I only had after hours and weekends for real estate. So one thing that somebody told me is, make people open your mail. And how do you do that? You condition them by sending them really awesome things. So early on, I could only do 12 touches a year, but I was going to make those touches really amazing. So I would send lottery tickets and Kool-Aid packets and Post-it notes and Big Red gum. And people started saying, wow, like, I'm not going to throw her mail away because there may be something fun in it. So fast forward to 2007, I quit my day job. I'd had our first baby, and I was full-time in real estate. But I want to tell you guys, I really wasn't full-time, because Andy was on the road Tuesday through Friday every week. We only had 2-day-a-week childcare, and all of our family was out of town. So in 2007, I doubled my business. I went from 12 units to 23 units, and I swear it was just because I had conditioned people to open my mail, and I was different than everybody else. So fast forward to 2008, I do about 25 units. I'm pacing for the same thing. And I want you guys to hear something, because it's so important. And this isn't a team building class, but this is critical. Anytime you do the same number of units 2 years in a row, you're missing something. You've hit your ceiling. And most of the time, it's not what you're missing. Most of the time, it's who you're missing. So in 2008, I knew something had to change. Heck, guys, I could have gone and hired a full-time nanny, and that would have changed my world, right? I didn't have that. That could have taken me to the next level. I could have hired a housekeeper. I mean, just those few hours, or I could have hired lawn guys, right? So I don't want you to think of a who has to be an assistant first, right? But there's something preventing you from getting to the next level. Well, in 2008, I started saying, Andy, quit your job. Come join me in real estate. And after about 6 months of crying, and I'm typically not a crier, I'm a high D driver personality. After 6 months of crying, Andy said, okay, can't take it anymore. I'm going to join you, right? I'm quitting my job. So Andy jumped in, and what did I get? I got leverage. And so when Andy joined me, I want you guys to realize we only went from 25 to 34 units. That's not a huge jump. And a lot of people say, oh, he only made a 9-unit difference. Not true. Not true. I was already marketing to his database. He's from Atlanta. So when he joined, I didn't add more people to market to. We just had an extra body, right?
Also, the market crashed in August of 2008.
Yes.
I started July 2008. So
it was
like,
a great
Then
time.
Then you were both crying.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But honestly, we didn't know what good or bad looked like. Really, we'd not really had tremendous success. Leslie was doing well on her own, but it wasn't like we built a big business at that point. And getting into the real estate business, I just treated it like any other business, right? It's about relationships. It's about following a schedule, being consistent in your input to get a consistent output. And no matter, just like the shift book says, it's not about the market, it's about what you do.
And so in 2010, we went backwards. We went from 34 to 33 units. And although the market was crumbling, we had this amazing assistant team leader, and she walked us through the models and systems of MREA. And she really walked us through the organizational model. And she said, you guys have gone backwards. Here you are, you're missing a who. You guys can be $1 million real estate team. And guess who didn't believe it? Us. We didn't believe that. Yet she had gray hair and wisdom and had been in real estate for a long time. And so we listened to her. And even though we were in the pit of the market, we went out and hired our first assistant. And look what happened. In 2010 to 2011, we almost doubled our business. And guys, it was because of the 36 touch. Because when we hired that leverage piece, it freed me up to become basically the marketing assistant. And I created a 36 touch marketing plan, actually 33 touch at the time. And I was lead generating for the first time ever 2 hours a day. For the first time ever. Those two things changed our world. And then the continued growth has just been through people.
Yeah, it's adding databases, really. There's two things that we feel like are the most important in adding people to our team. The first is motivation, right? They've got to have some strong form of motivation, and they have to be magnetic. Magnetic meaning that they have a strong sphere of influence. They're involved in some form or fashion. They have strong convictions and people that follow them, right? That's very, very important as you're building an influential database business.
And I just realized this may be the old presentation because it doesn't have 2019 on there. So throughout time, our growth has basically just been through adding databases and teaching people how to lead generate to their databases. And then we handle the 36 touch for everyone on our team. So Andy, take us away.
So yeah, let's talk about the secrets of marketing. The first one is you have to have a very strong R&D department. R&D stands for rip off and duplicate. So the reality is that there is not much new under the sun. And there's been a lot of amazing marketing ideas that have been shared with our company, continue to be shared with our company. And really what we do is we take ideas and we plus them, right? We adapt them and we plus them to make them fit into kind of our system. And I would tell you, even in Montgomery, right, the reality is you guys are not marketing to the same people. So even if you had one awesome idea that you shared with the whole market center and everybody did it, very few, if any, people would get a duplicate mailer or event or what have you, right? So just don't get in the weeds in terms of, I have a great idea, I'm going to save this for me. Because what happens when we share ideas is we actually get better ideas, right? So don't miss that. 4C's in marketing. These are the things that I believe, or we believe, actually made the difference in creating this plan and making it memorable and successful. Consistency, right? If you decide to do a plan and you plan it out for the next 12 months and you only make it through 2 months, don't expect it to pay off, right? We actually prefer for people to go ahead, like it's September right now. This is kind of the time of the year where people would start thinking about this anyway. But you'd want to, as a follow-up or action item coming out of this class, is that you'd want to create your plan starting in October and October 2020 and run all the way through September 2021. Don't just say, wait till November to do this and start it in January, right? Go ahead and start it. We know what you put into action quickly is what's going to stick. So be consistent. The second is creativity. We're so lucky at Keller Williams because we get the opportunity to build our own brand, right? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? So the creativity side of this is you get to decide that, right? You really get to be who you want to be, right?
I love talking about creativity because most agents in a classroom will say, I'm not creative. I love that you guys are creative, but I'm not creative. And there's a lot of ways, guys, that you can kind of buy creativity, right? Number one is masterminding with each other in the office. What are other people doing? Plus it, rip off and duplicate. I'll never remember early in my career, it was probably 2007. I came home and I had gotten 2 like luxury listings in a month. And I was 26 years old. And Andy actually said, Leslie, like, how are you getting these listings? Like, how old are these people? And I said, oh, they're our parents' age. And he's like, well, why are they hiring you?
No offense, right?
No offense, but like, how'd you get that opportunity? How'd you get that listing? And I said, I know, Andy, it's the weirdest thing. I said, I asked them and they all say, well, we liked our past real estate agent. In fact, we used her for 3 transactions. Yet you're just different. You're so creative in how you market yourself that I know that you'll do a better job marketing my house. Guys, there is such a disconnect between agents marketing themselves and agents marketing houses. Our clients view that as one and the same. So if your stuff looks like junk that you're putting out and it's not creative and they throw it straight in the trash, that's how they think you're going to market their home. So we can't lack creativity and use mediocrity, right? We have to be creative.
Yeah, and by the way, you can leverage and buy consistency, right? You can leverage and buy creativity. Those are actually the 2 things that are very easy to get. You don't necessarily have to be all things, right? Cohesiveness. So cohesiveness is really about your look and feel. So, very early on, Leslie wanted to look older.
Yes.
And so we created this real old paper, antique paper, old like tarnished brass look. And we ran with that for a long time. And quite frankly, I think that did help her get some of those
baby boomers,
bigger opportunities. But then along came our director of marketing. Once we reached a point where we could afford director of marketing, the director of marketing said, what's up with all this old stuff? You guys, y'all look old. Like, we got to modernize you. So we did a complete rebrand. But we kept one centralized piece, which was the door knocker. Some of you may have seen the door knocker. For us, it's a very symbolic image. Our mission is to create massive opportunities for others through real estate. We open doors for people. That's what we do. And so the door knocker is representative of that. So we see that theme. That's kind of the golden thread through all of our marketing materials. The name of our newsletter is The Door Knocker. We have a newsletter for agents, which we'll share that link with you guys later. It's called The Door Knocker for Agents. If you send us a referral, in addition to a 25% referral fee, right, we'll send you a pair of socks that have door knockers all over them.
Why? Because your referrals knock our socks off.
So that cohesiveness is important, right? Look and feel, and what are you about, right? What is a symbol for your business? And again, that's one of the gifts I think of Keller Williams is that Keller Williams doesn't ask you to build their brand. in fact, they tell you to build your brand, right? And the most powerful real estate company in the world comes up behind you and supports you in your business, which is just one of the gazillion reasons why I love this company. And then finally, call to action. So call to action, this was the one that we really screwed up initially. We didn't get this one. We didn't understand why this was important. We felt like, hey, we just put out really cool stuff and people are going to call us. And a lot of people use kind of a generic call to action. You all have heard it. Who do you know that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? And I would challenge you that that is perhaps not the strongest call to action for us to use. One of the things that we have learned is that we've got to get really granular with our calls to action. Examples of this might be, hey, who do you know that is currently renting and might be interested in building wealth, purchasing their first home? Or, hey, who do you know that maybe finds themselves an empty nester right now? Kids have moved out and they feel like a BB in a boxcar. They need to downsize, right? They need to get out of this house and maybe need to get rid of some of their stuff. We can help with that. Who do you know? Who do you know that maybe wants to start buying investment properties? Again, back to this idea of building wealth. The real estate market historically has a better return than the stock market. Who do you know that we could talk to about that? So getting really, really granular in our calls to action and then following that up with something. For instance, you might have a first-time homebuyer seminar or a downsizing seminar or an investor seminar. In fact, we've been talking a lot about these now because we used to do these in person and now we do these virtually. In fact, we're starting a new class for KWU. We've got our first practice run at it today. That's really all about how do you pivot into virtual events. And a lot of our material in KW Connect right now is about that. So those are the 4 secrets.
Can I give them one more call to action?
Sure.
It's really good that I really like is everybody loves referrals, right? So one of my favorites is everyone knows 7 people who will buy or sell a home this year. And while I would love for you to remember me for all 7, I am just asking that you remember me for 1. And guess what happens? They're going to remember you for 1. And what are you going to do? You're going to thank them. We're going to send them socks that their referrals knock our socks off. And then guess what?
Reward good behavior.
We're going to reward that good behavior and they're going to give us another one. So get into the habit of asking people that. I love that. That's actually one of my favorite things and make it kind of funny. Like, while I love all 7, I'm just asking you for 1. Sorry, Andy. Do you want to close out or anything else?
No.
You guys are getting us like completely unplugged today. I mean, this is so not normal. We don't have a PowerPoint up. We think we do. Contractors in our house.
Can't promise that dogs won't bark.
Dogs barking. I mean, this is just unplugged with the Peters.
We'll give you your money back.
How about
that?
Okay, so what does our 36 touch actually look like? This is the good stuff, right? This is what you came here for. Okay, so the basis of our 36 touch has always been mail. I know, weird, right? It's always been mail. You know why? Because everybody else doesn't mail anymore because people don't want to spend money. And we have to reinvest in our business. So we send 12 mailers a year.
Well, and people think, oh, God, I hate mail. But do you hate great mail, right? You hate junk mail. So don't mistake junk mail for sending
fun mail.
Yeah.
We want to be fun. We want to bring the fun, right? So we send 12 mailers per year. One, kind of want you guys to think of this in 4 quarters, okay? So every quarter, we're going to send 1 item of value. Now, this is crucial. This is what keeps them opening your mail, okay? So for an item of value, you may send a Kool-Aid packet. You may send a lottery ticket. You may send a foam wallet for the back of their phone. You may send an eyeglass cloth, right? I want you to think of things for items of value that can fit in an envelope that don't cost any more money than normal postage. So for years, Andy and I would have car rides, and all we would do is brainstorm what could fit in an envelope that wouldn't
dates,
cost
hot
more
Friday
money.
nights.
Post-it
brainstorm.
notes. Gosh, we're sending something. What? Oh, we just, you know, the little Zoom covers, that the camera covers. Boom. See, y'all can't see us anymore because I've got one on and it has a door knocker on it. So we sent that to our entire database. Okay. So items of value, send one of those a quarter. Really important. We spend more on those mailers, and it's okay because we budget for that and we reinvest in our business. The second one is we send an event invitation. I know you guys are thinking, wouldn't it be easier to send an evite? Yeah, it'd be easier, but I want a mailer with legs. I want something that they put on their refrigerator or they put on their cork board, and I want that event invitation to stay up for a month. So we're sending it a month in advance of the event, and it's staying up there. That's a mailer with legs. That means it outlasts just that piece of mail. They're looking at you and your branding for a whole month.
This reminds me of the 80s whenever we would go to birthday parties as kids, right?
Yeah.
And it was always a big deal to pick out the invitation. Like, what does the invitation look like? And it was a production. It does not necessarily have to be a production these days. In fact, we use Etsy that designs most of our invitations, like this cool Mary Poppins one that you see on the screen. We did a Mary Poppins event.
A Mary Poppins movie, and that was the invitation. And you literally can just type in any event that you're having and they'll create an invitation. In fact, we actually have invitations now on postcards, okay? Because postcards are cheaper, right? And so we actually talk with the Etsy designer and we'll say, hey, could you make your image this size for my postcard? And they'll say, sure, I'll charge you $10 extra. So I'm gonna pay them $25 to design my entire event invitation. I'd say that's a win. Okay, third, market update. So every quarter we send a market update. Guys, you have to be the economist of choice for your database. When people think about the Montgomery market, they look to you to be the expert because that's what you do every single day. So I would challenge you guys every month, really pour over your stats and pick out 5 points that you can script constantly and use those in your market update. Use those in party chatter is what I call it. When I go to a party, I want to know stats that make me look smart. So when people say, Leslie, how's the real estate market in Atlanta? I can say, oh my gosh, we only have 1.6 months of inventory. It is the lowest ever. We don't have enough houses. Do you know anybody that's looking to sell? Or I can say, you know what? The luxury market is starting to see some deterioration, right? So I'm having all these great conversations and I'm going to use that in my mailer. I'm also going to use that in a video blog in my email newsletter. And it's just once a month. Could every one of you make a 3-minute video on the Montgomery market every month? Say yes.
Yeah.
You could.
Nod your head.
Yes. And then
Only if you have a phone. That is.
Right.
You don't have a phone, you couldn't do it.
yeah. So 3-minute video every month and use those same statistics in a market update. And guys, go to Command. Designs have some amazing things and you can use Command. Don't make this difficult. Order your postcards right there and put in your stats for Montgomery. Okay, so you got 12 mailers. What's next? 12 email newsletters. We use MailChimp. MailChimp is actually going to have a plug-in to Command. It may not be there yet. I'm not sure. I haven't looked yet. But MailChimp is free up to 1,000 people, and they have templates for you to use. What I love about them is that you can also go in on the back end after you send an email newsletter, and you can see the open rate. How many people are actually opening it? How many people are unsubscribing? And I want you to think, oh, feedback, right? If you have 50 people unsubscribe in your first email newsletter, you did something wrong. It didn't hit the mark. It wasn't interesting. If only 10% of people opened it, not interesting. What can you do different? So in your email newsletter, I want you to think about a market update because remember, you're going to be the economist of choice. So your quick video, you could put your listings, you could put your pendings, and you could put your solds. And guys, that could be it. You could put some events that are going on in Montgomery, right? So there's all these things that you could do in your newsletter, but don't let it scare you that it has to be long and look like hours. We have 14 people on our team that are all writing blogs and creating content to go in these email newsletters, but it could be small. It could just be you chatting with your database about the local market. If you want to see our email newsletter,
I was just going to say, you could design an email newsletter in MailChimp. How many people is the max in the database for MailChimp to be
I
free?
just told them 1,000.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I think it's actually 2,000 now, though.
Oh, is
They
it
upped
2,000?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, and we're 6,000 people now, and it only cost us $85 a month. So that's really reasonable, and not a bad investment at all. Actually, a good investment.
Yeah, you can find the newsletter on the Facebook
Oh, that's
page.
what I was gonna say.
The Peters Company Facebook page. We always post it the last day of the month. So if you like the Peters Company on Facebook, you can go back to the last day of every month, really for the last 3 or 4 years, and you can see every one of our newsletters.
Awesome. I love it. Okay.
And you guys, Command has just updated their mass emailer for inside of there. So if you want to play around in that.
That's so true. And they have been working a lot on email. So honestly, I would prefer just for everything to be in Command, but because we've been in MailChimp for so long, we may take a little while to convert. Our entire database is in Command though. We are there. So that's exciting. Okay, so let's talk about events, because events have always been the backbone of our business. We want face-to-face, belly-to-belly, toe-to-toe time with our people, right? Because that is the connection. People use you because they feel connected to you, and you have to work on those relationships. Also, Andy, nobody ever got offended
by being invited to an event. If you have a hard time, we talk a lot about caller reluctance as it relates to lead generation. Caller reluctance happens because people think that what they're sharing has no value. When what you're sharing actually has value to people, not only do you want to do it, you feel compelled to do it, right? You want to give. And that's what events do. I mean, really, our lead generation strategy is revolving around our events.
Yeah. So what does that look like? So we have 4 events a year. I'm going to tell you what it looks like pre-COVID. How about that? And then I'll tell you what it looks like right now. So pre-COVID, we did a movie event every January. So Mary Poppins, we've done Star Wars a couple of times. So always a movie in January when it's cold outside. And we try to make it a family-friendly movie, so all ages are involved. When I say this, you guys are probably thinking, oh my goodness, how much does it cost to rent out a movie theater? Right? Is that what you're thinking? I get it.
That's about $6,000.
It's $6,000, and guess how much we pay? 0, because one of our vendors pays it. So when I'm talking about events, I want you to think about, it doesn't have to be a movie event, but what type of event could you have that you had your vendor sponsor? Tacos are cheap. Could you do a taco and margarita event and have your lender throw in $250? Or your closing attorney throw in $250, right? So I want you to think outside of the box with this. And a lot of people always think, oh my gosh, but they're a big team. They have the money and they have the resources to do this. Guys, we were individual agents like you one day too. So if you can only start and do 2 events a year and they have to be in your house, great.
Make them awesome.
Make them awesome and just start somewhere. So I'll go ahead and continue telling you what ours are. So it's a movie event in January. Typically in March or April, it's going to be our Easter egg hunt. We have about 250 people. 1,500 Easter eggs. We have the Easter Bunny. We have a professional photographer.
A non-creepy Easter Bunny.
He's pretty creepy.
A guy in a Easter egg or
Easter egg suit.
An Easter egg.
It's a cute thing.
It is cute, and the kids love it. And so we have that, and then we have a bubble show. You know, have y'all seen those bubbles where they put kids in the big, I mean, they make huge bubbles. Anyway, I digress. So Easter egg hunt. So we have that. Then in May, we have one of our favorite events, which is our Kentucky Derby party at our house. That's actually the smallest event we do. It's only about 100 people. And that Kentucky Derby party is our big charity event. So we typically raise about $2,000 in an hour for our favorite charity. And that's what I want you to hear. When you're getting a group of people together, get them together to support good, right? What's your favorite charity? Let them see your heart. What are you passionate about? So for us, it's preventing adolescent homelessness in Atlanta, because Atlanta has one of the highest adolescent homelessness populations in the country. It's crazy because we have so many kids aging out of foster care, and where do they go? They go on the streets. So Chris 180 actually comes in and helps these kids learn life skills to get on their feet. You can tell I'm super passionate about this organization. So that every single event does something for Chris 180. We do hygiene kits for them at the Easter egg hunt. So everybody brings in small travel size soap, shampoos to the Easter egg hunt.
Coat drive in the fall.
We do a coat drive at our pumpkin patch, so that's one of our events. And then the Derby party actually just raises money for that event, and then we give away a weekend in Hilton Head at one of our like timeshares. So all the money goes to charity, so that's kind of fun. And then we kind of skip summer. We don't do anything in the summer, and then we come back and do a big pumpkin patch in the fall, and it is actually on, Andy.
Yeah.
It's on. We're excited. It's October 3rd. We go to a pumpkin farm outside of Atlanta, and we typically have around 200 people there. So you hear me saying, okay, wow, they have 200 people at their event. Let's talk about that, because a lot of people say, ooh, I don't want to invite my entire database to the event because I'm afraid everybody will come. Well, we have about 2,500 people in our database. And what I can tell you is on average, I'm expecting 10% at most. If you have a smaller database, you might get 20 to 30%. So if you invited 100 people, those are probably more of your wedding type people, and 20 to 30 may come. But the larger your database gets, there's going to be fewer percentage that come. So I always tell people, invite everybody, right? Figure out a way to invite everybody. And when you're thinking about your events, diversify them, because we know that not everybody in our database is 40 years old with 2 kids and 2 dogs.
And 2 contractors in their house.
And 2 contractors in their house. Actually, there's like 8.
Yeah.
But whatever. So we have to diversify events. So some of our events are going to be more geared towards, singles and maybe baby boomers. They love the Derby party because they don't have to get childcare. But the pumpkin patch and the Easter egg hunt is going to be more for families or grandparents bringing their grandkids. So just diversify your events. For each event, we do a mailed invitation like we talked about up front. We do an email newsletter. We do an email invitation, and then we call around that event.
Yeah. So really, if you look at the bullet points on that, since we already have the mailed invitation above under 12 mailers, you can look at it as there's the 4 events, there's the 4 email invitations, and there's the 4 phone calls. So that's another 12 touches. So that's 36 right there, right? And then we get to the personal touch. And the personal touch is a product of just knowing what's going on in the lives of your people. And examples of this obviously would be having children, right? Births of new babies, getting married, unfortunately sadness too, losing a loved one or losing a pet. All of these things we pay attention to what's going on social media, and we'll send a memorial, right? It's not about the money, it's about the touch, really. It's about them understanding or seeing that we're paying attention to what's going on in their lives and we care.
And this really wraps up into Legion.
Yeah.
Because this is when you find this out. Every single day, I do 11 touches a day. I contact 11 people. And when I'm contacting them, I'm looking up to see and I do DTD2, by the way. Y'all know what that is? Do the database too. So I follow the alphabet system. I'm on letter K right now, in case you wanted to know. Those of you who've taken
bold, that's what you do. If you haven't taken bold, you need to take it, especially since now it's
$79 till October 1st.
I know, I love that. So I'm touching 11 people a day, and I'm looking at social media first because I want to know what's going on in their lives before I pick up the phone and call them, right? And I'm also wanting to know what's going on in their life, because if they had a new dog, we're going to send them a bandana with a door knocker on it and say, welcome, Fido, to the Peters Company family, right? So you just want to stay in touch with people and a part of their lives.
Yeah. All right, so we're about to land the plane here. The first thing, I think whenever we talked about this before, you can be whoever you want to be, right? as Brad Paisley says, I'm so much cooler online. But who is your attractive character? There was a book by Russell Brunson. What's the name of that book?
Dot-com Secrets.
I can't see it because y'all's faces are over the book. Dot-com Secrets is a really
I'd rather see your faces.
Yeah, exactly. Dot-com Secrets is a really terrible book. Don't read it unless you like sales click funnels. If you like that, you'll love it, but most people don't. But there's one concept out of that, which is the attractive character. And a great example of this is if you post something on social media and nobody likes it, right? Nobody thumbs up it or loves it or whatever. That is something that people did not expect you to post. In other words, it wasn't aligned with who they expected you to be and what they expected in terms of content from you.
Or why they like you, love you, trust you.
Right. On the flip side of that, have you noticed some posts when you post it and people just go bananas for it? And it's like, wow, what was the difference between that? And that was because that really struck a nerve with what people expect from you. You want to live there, right? Find out what your attractive character is, and you want to live there.
Yeah, and build your marketing plan around that attractive character because people trust you because they like you, right? So who are you? I always say be you unless you're negative Nelly, and don't be you. Be positive Patty.
Yeah, we try. If you look at our social media, I'm always big on inspiration. I think both of us are very big on like not taking ourselves too seriously. We laugh at ourselves a lot. We laugh at our family. We included our family in a lot of things. And I think that's what helps people relate to you, right? Is they feel like they know you and they might not even really know you. But it's your attractive character coming through in social media. Start with why.
I love that book. If you haven't read it, go buy it. Start with Why by Simon Sinek, especially if you haven't created a brand yet. This will really help you understand who you are and why you get up out of bed every single morning, because it's not for money, because money only gets you up for so long. And then guess what? You get enough money and what do? Just quit? No, you don't quit. Because your why is something greater. So our why, we told you guys earlier, is to create massive opportunities for others. And that's what gets me out of bed every single morning. That's for our clients. That's for the charities we support. And that's for our team members and employees. So what is your why? And you need to know that because people are not connected to what you do. They're connected to why you do it. So they're not going to use you just because you're in real estate and need to make money. They're connected to the why behind that. So really start thinking about this attractive character concept and the why behind your business. And, all of this seems like a lot. Oh my gosh, they just told me that they send out 36 touches a year. They lead generate to 55 people a week. This just seems like too much. I don't know if I can do that. Well, a reminder, millions
are made in the mundane.
Millions.
Yeah, it's really just kind of finding a groove. And I would tell you, don't build your plan based upon things you don't like to do. Now, granted, you're going to have to do some things that you don't like to do. I just wouldn't want to build a consistent, like long-term plan on like calling FSBOs and expires because quite frankly, I hate that, right? That's not something, if I had to do that, I would quit, right? Because it's just, I can do it for a little bit, but I could not do that sustaining. So know who you are, be who you are, and build a business around that. That'll feel a lot easier.
So a story to end that I think is kind of fun is Andy and I what year did we sell our house? We sold our house in 2014 to some of our clients before we moved into this one. And after we moved in, they had us over for dinner one night and we adore them. They're British and they have these really lovely accents.
They could read the phone book and I would listen to them.
Oh, absolutely. And the wife, Wills, looks at me and she said, "So Leslie, how I wish I could do her accent, but she was basically like, so tell me, how's my business this year?" And I said, "Oh, Wills, it's great." I was like, "We are number 2 in the entire state of Georgia." And she said, "Oh, well, that's awesome." She said, "But you'll never be number 1. And I was like, so Wills, why won't we ever be number 1? I'm just curious. And she said, "Because you care about people too much." And so what I want you to hear in that is the next year we were number one in the state of Georgia. And we were number one because we treat every single person in our database like our only one. So if you don't hear anything else today, I want you to hear stop marketing and start serving. When you come from contribution and when you bring value to the people you love and the people in your world, what comes back? More business than you could ever just imagine. So today, the secret is in getting started. So what are you guys going to start today? There's a few places that you can find us. If you want to sign up for our monthly marketing e-newsletter where we send you all of our 36 touch ideas, don't go to the first page of our website. This happens all the time, and then our ISA is going to call you like crazy, and you're going to be added to our 6 to Success plan. Don't go there and fill out that you want to be a client. Okay, go to this link, thepeterscompany.com/connect. If you sign up, you can get our 36 touch tips. You guys also, I love that Katie said that y'all already had the Peters Co 36 touch mastermind page.
Yep.
So that's great. Okay, so you're part of that. And then we'd love to send you a pair of socks and pay 25%. So if you have any referrals for Atlanta, you can send them to WeCare@thepeterscompany.com. Okay, Andy.
Yeah, I think that's it. What did we miss?
I don't think you missed anything. I thought it was phenomenal. What do you guys think? You guys came today, Montgomery agents, and we're looking forward to this, some of which we've already been talking about, 36 touch. What did y'all learn? What are your ahas? What are you going to implement?
I'm going to finish my temp mail that Taisha has urged me to start. That is one that only confirms that she's been telling me the right thing, which I never doubted her. So that is what I'm going to finish this week.
Good deal, Shacarol.
Love it.
I would encourage all you guys. We would have not gotten started or had nearly the kind of success that we've had if we did not listen to our market center leadership. They know what they're talking about. They're in those positions for a reason. They understand the models that we all need to know. And I always like to put a plug in for leadership, because there is certainly at some point where, you got to go get a coach. I mean, everybody needs a coach. And yeah, the team leader, the ATL, the productivity coach, all of those people, I mean, they are just instrumental to your success. So lean hard into them. Is that okay to say, Kitty?
I love it. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Well, I love you guys, Andy and Leslie. Y'all know that. I'm a big fan. Follow y'all on Facebook. Keep up with the family. And I just appreciate you guys joining us today and sharing with our Market Center. So thank you so much, guys, for taking time to do that. We will look for you on KW Connect. New material coming out. Is that correct?
Oh,
It's coming out soon.
yeah,
So
there's a few things that are on there now that are about virtual events. We're going to go deeper into that with KWU.
So be thinking of us. Send us well wishes
That's
this
awesome.
afternoon.
And everybody we need in Atlanta, we're going to call the Peters Company. So
Thank you
you guys.
so
Thank
much,
you,
guys. Y'all have a good
Bye.
day. Bye, Katie. Katie,
Thank
I'll
you.
send you this PowerPoint.
That's awesome. Thank you. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye, guys.
See y'all.